The Atomfall devs said that Atomfall is not Fallout, but stop me if this sounds familiar. The game opens with a black and white tone setting cinematic with those old-timey vibes. Then you wake up in a bunker after an atomic event, and then you leave that bunker, step out into a world that you are freely able to explore in a post-apocalyptic setting. So I was originally going to do a review and a tips video for Atomfall, but I've been completely burnt out after moving and the Assassin's Creed content that we've been doing. And also Atomfall is quite short, and the more that I played, I didn't actually want to make a tips and tricks video because the actual best thing about this game is its self-discovery and finding things on your own, following those leads, and just exploring the world. And I didn't really particularly want to take that enjoyment away from people, though I do know that, being a guides creator on YouTube, it is kind of my job. I have put together some useful tips and stuff if you want to skip this part of the video, and we'll go through that stuff at the end of this video. But I did want to give you guys some thoughts and opinions on Atomfall, considering I have covered Fallout on this channel since its beginning, the very beginning of this channel, and I have a couple of opinions about Atomfall, and I think people that are interested in Fallout would also be interested in Atomfall, so I think it's worth talking about. So yes, there is some Fallout comparisons here, but actually the more I played it, the more I kind of felt like Stalker and a little bit like Half-Life. There is some subtle horror vibes here, the severe lack of backing music and relying on the game's ambient sounds as you just explore the world is very Stalker. And I don't know what it is about the world, but it just gives me some Half-Life vibes, especially Half-Life 2. Maybe it's the giant machines or just the way the world is structured. It just reminds me of that, but it's a much more of a survival experience that you would remember from Stalker, trying to manage your ammunition counts and trying to keep that health up. And there are some novel ideas here as well, like the recipe and skill book system, in that everything is revolved around the fact that you need to explore to find new recipes so that you can actually use a lot of the resources you find in the world, also to find skill books so that you can actually learn some better skills, and to find training stims, which is how you actually acquire those skills. It's all very exploration based, and I think something that really works for this game is the fact that these spaces that you are exploring are quite small and very handcrafted, and I think that's actually a thing that's going well for the game, is there's not a lot of empty space. You're essentially going from point of interest to point of interest with very little space in between, and it just really works for a smaller sized game like this, especially with its length. Also having a very dense environments to explore where there's constantly things to pick up and leads to find, which is the main way that you actually progress through the story, is finding leads, reading notes, and talking to people. Those leads are the main crux of this game, and because it's all based around that exploration, I think it does an exceptional job of trying to give you those breadcrumbs, that carrot on a stick vibe to continue to find that next lead, to find that next thing. It's not all positive though. A couple of things that I think are a little lacking here are the AI for a lot of the enemies. It's very basic. There doesn't particularly seem to be much of a crime system, but there is a crime system. It's that you can trespass at locations and enemies will attack you on sight. So it's weird hybrid between a legitimate crime system and just you're trespassing and then they just immediately attack you. And you can actually do actions that will lose you access to certain spaces or gain you access to certain spaces. I was able to get into the prison because I did something for the captain, but then if I do things in that prison that are a little nefarious, I'll lose that access. I'll immediately be trespassing and everyone will shoot me on sight, which is good to have that sort of choice and consequence and way that the sandbox will react to your choices. However, it's just that top layer that's missing, where say the AI is a bit more responsive, as well as the game's a bit more responsive to say, when I make an action that might annoy people, it doesn't immediately make me a kill on sight target for everyone, even though people may not have even been anywhere near that location when that happened. It's just you're all of a sudden an enemy and you were just an enemy from here on out, for massive areas of the game, which is a little frustrating. So you've got to be really intentional about your choices that you make, and that AI is definitely lacking. And melee enemies just charge at you, your range enemies just stand out in the open. Occasionally enemies will go behind cover, and that's actually surprising when it happens, and when they actually try and move behind cover, it's whoa, it's almost exciting to see the AI work. So I think some of those bones are there, but it might just need a couple of patches in order to figure out. But ultimately though, I do think that Atomfall is definitely worth a play, especially on Xbox Game Pass, and for Fallout fans and just fans of the games that we cover on this channel. I think a game of this length is definitely worth checking out because it is a smaller experience. There is quite an interesting narrative with the interchange, and we'll get into a little bit of that stuff when we talk about tips and tricks, but it's definitely definitely a fun time with some rough edges that do start to show their teeth the further you get into the game, when you start realizing how surface level some of these systems are. But because of its short length, it doesn't overstay its welcome. But let's talk about some of those tips and tricks. All right, firstly, the metal detector is one of the best things that you should grab in the game. There are metal caches everywhere on all of the maps that just give flat resources. Some of them actually have leads in them or recipes. Well worth using the metal detector anytime you do see that pop up in the left corner. Now, you probably found it already, but it is in Slatendale, the very first area. It's actually in the pond near the outlaw camp in that region. Definitely go here very early and grab this, as it will significantly increase the amount of resources you get, as well as recipes, all that good stuff. Speaking of things that you will find, you'll find a ton of gear and just stuff like that you'll pick up that you don't really know what to do with. Hold on to these or put them in like your storage cache, because bartering is required to use these items. There's no like currency here. Anytime you want to buy something from a shopkeeper, you will want to just have a full inventory of just stuff and then give that stuff to the shopkeeper. Especially the skill books you want to buy, as well as the atomic batteries, are absolutely critical to buy, because you will need them for story reasons. Now, you can buy recipes from a lot of these vendors, especially like the trader camps that you'll see out in the world, but I wouldn't really buy the recipes, as there's multiple copies of the recipes out in the world that you can actually just find. So you can save yourself some resources if you don't want to buy those recipes, but if you want them like immediately, totally fine to do so. But they're the things I would mostly focus on: skill books, atomic batteries, and then the recipe sort of third in that tier. What I've been doing is filling up my inventory with like just anything, like everything and anything I can pick up, and then going to a vendor and just seeing like whatever I can like purchase for that. Another good tip is to craft a bunch of like meds and salves and shivs, those sort of things, and then trade them in, because then you can actually just trade the resources that you are picking up. Like, you can't actually just trade, you know, the glass you pick up. You actually need to turn it into something. Meds and salves are definitely well worth it, as a lot of vendors treat these a bit more highly than other things. Skill books are mostly bought from vendors. You'll find a couple in the world, and they unlock 3 new skills for specific sections. A good one to get early on is the firearms skill book from Bootsy and Skithamore. He's right in this location. This location can be a bit tricky, but he's very early in that location, so you can go there and actually get that from him. This will just improve your overall firearm capabilities once you do unlock those skills. To unlock the skills, you need training stims, which are just tucked away everywhere, usually behind locked doors or hidden over the top of things, or crawl through spaces to find them, behind waterfalls, everywhere that you can possibly think of. They're not typically out in the open, so exploring is key to upgrade yourself and get these upgrades. Same with finding recipes out in the world. Now, the disarm skill is the only skill that I would 100% recommend you get like immediately, because there is a ton of traps everywhere and you need that skill in order to be able to disarm them. But otherwise, it's really up to you. But I would recommend to save your training stims in the early to mid game until you've found some skill books and actually get skills that are tangible to the build that you are using, or just in general things you want to actually use. Obviously, you can increase your HP and do that basic stuff, but definitely would recommend to hold on to those stims, because there's not as many in the game as you think there are, and skills are very hard to come by. So save them until you get specific ones that you actually do want to get. The game runs on leads, and you'll find leads everywhere. It is sometimes hard to know exactly where to go, but if you don't know what to do or where to go, honestly, just keep exploring.
Just keep
exploring.
Just keep
exploring. Like, that's basically the best advice I have for you, is to just explore. You'll find leads that will lead you to other locations or things to do or side quests to do. The main progression of the game happens at the interchange. Once you have access to that location, you'll sort of have a rough idea about what you need to do. But for the most part, just keep exploring, wandering around, doing side quests, finding things. That's like the main core focus of the game. For like combat, the best thing to do is to use reusable resources, like say arrows, because you can pick them up from corpses. You can get a bow from any of the druids in the Casterfell woods very easily. While you're here, by the way, grab this bullpup automatic rifle that does high damage and has high range. This is a fantastic weapon to use rifle ammo with in the early to mid game, even into the late game, even though it is rusty. In order to get this, you will need to get rid of the swarms that are around the location, because they will mess you up pretty quickly. But it is in the top right of Casterfell woods that I am showing right here. Otherwise, use a lot of throwables, like craft those throwables with the resources you find in the world. They're much more common than ammo in a lot of cases, so you can definitely do that. Like the sticky bomb recipe is one that you'll get very early on, or hopefully get very early on. There's a couple of copies of these, but there's one in Slatendale in the rail yard that you can pick up, or even something like the Molotov cocktail is an early one that's absolutely fantastic. Molotov cocktail's great to use on rats and swarms, by the way, because it will destroy all of the rats, but it will also actually destroy their nests, so they'll stop respawning. You'll actually find this in the Windell village in like a brewery cellar. You'll be able to find the recipe down in this location. Something to note as well is you will come across areas that are covered in poison or radiation. You should then craft the radiation resistance or poison resistance buffs, use them, and that'll make it much easier to explore these areas. Almost always there is some good stuff in those locations, so you definitely want to go in those locations, but make sure you save before you do, just in case you do get into trouble when you're in there. But that's all I got for you today. Let me know your thoughts on Atomfall in the comments down below, and also this sort of review tips hybrid video. Maybe I'll do more of these for some more indie games, as I kind of like the vibe, so let me know your thoughts on that too. But thank you guys for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is Norza, and I hope you have a great day.